Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 31st of October 2024, the last day of the month. Lots to discuss with you. So without further ado, this is the lineup of the issues that we'll be discussing during the show. We'll be beginning with the terrorism in Pakistan and of course the role and the sacrifices of our forces to thwart all such attempts that emanate from across the border and from other places in the region and from inside Pakistan as well. How important has been this resolve of our armed forces, this sacrifice of our armed forces to take care of our defense so that we as citizens of Pakistan can sleep soundly at night. We'll be highlighting the recent incidents that have also happened, for example, in which 8 khawarij have been sent to hell, 7 injured, and of course Major Atif Khalil who was martyred during this operation in Bannu as well. Bannu is one of the places that has been the center of gravity as far as such incidents is concerned, but also other areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. We'll be highlighting that in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns environmental pollution. We have seen what is happening in Punjab, specifically in Lahore. Now, the Punjab government has taken very stringent measures as far as this environmental pollution is concerned, and also in Islamabad, Rasheed is also striving to take very strong measures to tackle the issue of environmental pollution. We'll be highlighting that in our second segment. Then we are going to talk about the sikhyatris who are currently in Pakistan. They were given a rousing welcome by our Minister for Interior, Mohsinnaqvi, who has also announced that the yatris who are willing to visit Pakistan to perform yatra will get online visas without paying any fee within half an hour. Also, other incentives will be given to the sikhyatris belonging to certain countries across the world. This will be highlighted as far as our third story is concerned. Then we are going to talk about the Diwali celebrations that are happening today and tomorrow in Pakistan as well. Different important messages have emanated from our Prime Minister to different important personalities in Pakistan as well. Our Chief Minister Punjab has also announced cash cards for minorities and has vowed to double the amount for uplifting their places of worship and graveyards as well. Finally, we are going to talk about flash flooding that has happened in Makkah in Saudi Arabia. You can see the images in your parallel window as well. Who could have thought that flash flooding could happen in an area such as Makkah? That is, of course, the effect of climate change. Let's begin with our lineup for today, and we'll begin, of course, with terrorism, how terrorism has engulfed Pakistan, but how our defense forces, our armed forces are working 24/7 to not only defend our motherland but also defend the citizens of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. We've been joined by Major General Tariq Rasheed, retired. He's a defense analyst, joins us right here in the studios. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. It's a pleasure always to discuss with you as different issues concerning to Pakistan's security. Let's begin with what has happened in Bannu very recently. Khawarij sent to hell, and of course one of our own officers embraced martyrdom, and 2 soldiers also who embraced martyrdom. Also in Job district there has been another incident also in which one Khawarij was killed, another apprehended and was injured as well, and of course ammunition and weapons that are also recovered from them. How do you view the efforts of our security forces? If I were to ask you in general, because this is not a lone incident, a lot of incidents have been happening just in the month of October that are determined to wipe out this menace of terrorism, and sacrifices of our brave soldiers that have further strengthened the resolve of our country as well.
I would say that Pakistan is, I think, one of the major countries who has contributing in this global war on terror at the world level. And I think there is no other country which has suffered so much as the Pakistan has suffered. For example, we have suffered to the tune of over 80,000 casualties, armed forces and civilian includes. We have suffered more than $150 billion of losses because of the loss to the infrastructure, damage to our communication networks, and decrease in trades and tourism events. So Pakistan's contribution, and at the same time the losses are phenomenal. But as for the resolve of the armed forces and the nation is concerned, there is no question about it. You see, from January to October, I was just going through the statistics. I think around 200 terrorist incidents have taken place. And every second or third day you see the security forces are laying down their life. And the ratio of sacrifice and death from troops to officer ratio, this is unique and unprecedented in the world. For example, a platoon commander is a lieutenant or a captain, and he commands a body of troops of 25 people, for example, 24, 25 people. And for every 2 or 3 sacrificed by our Jawans, one officer is laying down with their life. This is just unprecedented and not seen in the world. So there is always absolute, and there is zero tolerance to the terrorism. And Pakistani forces already had once, for example, in 2018, they had eradicated the complete, rooted out the terrorism from the soil of Pakistan. They have come back again for somehow. So we also need to do some kind of soul searching, some kind of accountability. Why have they come back? But the resolve of the nations and the armed forces is absolutely clear that we have zero tolerance for terrorism, and inshallah soon we will root them out from the Pakistan.
All right, sir. Also, our President, our Prime Minister also highlighted the resolve of our armed forces as well, and congratulated our armed forces to have thwarted the the designs of this fitna. The fact is, I'll just take one of the statements of our Prime Minister, and he says that Pakistan is firmly committed to eradicate terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. How important is this commitment? And when you talk of commitment, which kind of commitment are you exactly looking at?
Yes. So, as far as the commitment is concerned, that is very evident from the statement of the President, from the statement of the Prime Ministers. And recently I was going through a book which is about the life of Amir Hazar Khan Murray, who had gone to Afghanistan. He stayed for, I think, more than a decade or so, but then he realized that his future is linked to Pakistan. So he came back, laid down his arm, and then he wrote a book and about his life. And he says that the future of Baluchis, future of people of Balochistan, their lies with Pakistan. So in his the preamble, the President of Pakistan had written a beautiful, I would say, given a statement or remarks that whenever the state is confronted with the, for example, some dissident people, the losses of always state and the people both, and the gainer are your enemies. So I think the people of especially the Balochistan and tribal area of Pakistan, they need to realize that they have to don't, for example, have any kind of sympathetic sentiments to the people who are now being termed as khawarijis, the fitna khawarijis. So, and the state also need to take strict action, not only against the fitna khawariji, but also who is abetting them, who is facilitating them, who is having some sympathetic sentiments towards them. And law needs to take action against those khawarijis and also those sympathizers or abettors.
All right. Sir, I'd like to just refer to certain recent incidents that have happened. You know, we've talked about Bannu, we've talked about Lucky Marwat, but also, in Lucky Marwat, I'd like to highlight the under-training soldier who laid down his life in the mosque to, save the lives of others. And I'd like to, of course, also highlight his name, Cadet Arifullah, who was just 19 years of age. Then South Waziristan, a soldier is martyred. Vana, 2 cops are injured. Another cop is martyred in district Khyber. This is the first attack in around 3 months in this area. I'd like to understand, since a couple of months we are hearing of more and more attacks that are happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and in Balochistan. Why is there an uptick in such activities? You
see, if you analyze month to month number of incidents taking place, the number of incidents taking place in the month of September, I think they were over 50. But in the month of October, they are around 43. So there is a gradual decline in overall the incident taking place. And this story of this cadet, Arifullah, is very heartwarming. He's just 19-year-old, you see. He was offering his Maghrib prayer in the mosque, and the terrorist came, you see, to save the life of everybody who was offering prayer. He tried to gain control over the terrorists, and in the process they fired and they killed him. You see. And that is the resolve of the Pakistani people, Pakistani, especially military. And there is another very heartwarming story I was going through from the district Karak. And there was an ex-soldier who had 7 or 8 children, and his 3 sons had died. They got shahadat because of fighting against this so-called war on terror. And he was talking in television, and he told that newsman that I have 7 children, 7 sons. So my 3rd son has died, and if required, I can sacrifice all my sons for the Pakistan. So that is the resolve of Pakistani people, that is the resolve of Pakistani armed forces, and world is witnessing this. And inshallah, the Pakistani forces with the support of Pakistani people will soon eliminate all these terrorists from its soil. But as you mentioned about the statements, also resolve of the leaders of Pakistan, the President and the Prime Minister, I think we also need to do some kind of legislations where the quick disposal of these culprits, these apprehended khawarijis are taken place. So they should be
dealt with at a very on a very quick pace, especially through the judicial system.
Yeah, and once the courts come to the cases come to the court, they should within a day they should decide about the cases, and then capital punishment should be given to them, and they should be appropriately highlighted in the media also to serve as a deterrence.
All right, I think that is a very important point that you just raised. Also, I'd like to understand these sacrifices that you talk about, which are extremely heart-wrenching, but at the same time lift our spirits as well, that our forces are there, they've always been there for us, they don't think for a single second before laying down their lives for the motherland. Does this also strengthen not only the civilians' determination, but also the forces' determination to eradicate terrorism?
Yes, definitely. As I earlier said, the forces are fully committed, and Pakistani forces, for example, they are established as a very professional and very competent organizations. You see, recently the international competition like the Cambrian Patrol, the firing competition where over 140 nations have participated, the Pakistani got the gold medal. So as far as the professional standing of the forces are concerned, their motivations are concerned, that is very much established and acknowledged by the world as such. So only one thing what we need to do is that we need to continue with this intelligence-based operations, and then other elements of the state like the judiciary, the police, the governance element, they need to play their roles and to go side by side, because where after clearing the area, after holding the area, once you have to build them and transfer to the civil administration, they should be able to do the expected role.
All right. Sir, also most of the elements that are creating havoc in Pakistan are emanating from across the border, from the Afghan border into Pakistan. We call most of them fitna al-khawarij. How do we need to deal with these fitna al-khawarij? Do we need to deal with them in consultation with Afghanistan? And now that we are seeing that they are not, maybe collaborating the way they need to or they should, what should be Pakistan's stance kinetically and non-kinetically, in your point of view, to deal with the fitna al-khawarij?
You see, the kinetically you have to use the force. First of all, we have the credible evidence. There's fitna al-khawarij, their bases are in Afghanistan. They are somehow supporting them, they are coming from there, and then they again run back and go to that countries. So we have the evidence. So we should present these evidence with conviction and with force to Afghanistan, the governments. And if they listen to you, then it's very good. If they don't listen to you, then you use your full force. For example, you have very competent air force. You can reach out anywhere in Afghanistan. So you have to do some kind of preemptive strikes so that they don't do this thing kind of anti-state activity against Pakistan. Then you have a leverage in terms of all their lifeline logistics ports go from Torkham border or from Chaman border, there are a number of other places also. And you just stop them for a day, there will be thousands of trucks we have seen get lined up. So we need to use this leverage also. Then there are certain countries which are collaborating closely with the current Afghanistan government, like the China, like Iran, like the Qatar. So we need to take those countries also into confidence and tell them to exercise their whatever pressure they can to convince the Afghanistan governments to not to allow their soil for anti-terrorist activity, especially against Pakistan. But I think there is a capacity issue also about the Afghan government. I was going through certain studies which reflect that while Americans, while leaving Afghanistan, they left about $7 to $8 billion of weapons, ammunition, and equipment there. So all this,
and time and again we found proofs of those same weaponry that has been used in Pakistan.
Exactly. So there's the capacity issue also. But if the resolve is there, they can always handle the capacity issue.
All right, but of course there's a multifaceted and multi-layered approach to dealing with the fitna, and kinetically also and non-kinetically as well. when you look at such elements, not only are issues happening from across the border in Pakistan, but also on the borders. We all remember what happened in the Nushki Ghaznali air sector in early October also, and this is not the first time. There are also credible reports that say that the Afghans don't even accept the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan as such. What needs to be, why is there a lack of, I wouldn't say understanding, but a lack of measures that the Afghan government should take or needs to take in order to establish itself as a credible country in the region?
Yeah, that's the main reason that the world has not accepted them. Majority of the world, including the, for example, major state like the US or the UN body, they have not accepted them because of such kind of their behaviors. I think what they feel is, I think the ones current government, they think somehow they are aligned with the Taliban Pakistan, which we think is a fitna al khawarij. So they need to understand that now they have gotten, for example, complete control over Afghanistan. So need to behave like a more responsible state and listen to the, for example, international norms and the way the state works. So I think they, and from our side what we can do is that at the leadership level, we need to develop some kind of understanding with the leader in Afghanistan.
All right, but we've been trying to get some kind of understanding from the Afghan leaders, but apparently they're not reacting the way that we expected them to.
Yeah.
What needs to be done in order for that to happen? Should we involve friendly countries such as China or Russia in order to exert some kind of pressure on that, or should we move towards to deal with such forces to joint counter-terrorism efforts with these countries as well?
Not only that, we need to exert pressure diplomatically from our friendly countries, which are friendly to both the countries. We need to utilize their influence on them. But whatever leverage we have, as I highlighted, in terms of their logistics support, in terms of their line of communications, in terms of our very strong, potent armed forces. So depending of what kind of is the environment we should use, these are leverages very judiciously and effectively.
Also, I'd like to understand, I mean, there was a briefing by a spokesperson of the Foreign Office very recently, in which she highlights that there is no offer or advice from the Pakistani side with regards to a dialogue between Pakistan and the Fitna al-Khawarij or the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. She has clarified that. Why are there such rumors emanating from within Pakistan? Which elements are trying to create such an atmosphere that shows that Pakistan somehow wants to talk with the same fitna that has been creating havoc in Pakistan?
I think earlier people at the helm of the affair, they have been talking of good Taliban and the bad Talibans. Well, that thing is no over. So no, we don't distinguish between good Taliban and the bad Talibans. Anyone who is working or doing anything against the state of Pakistan is the enemy of Pakistan. And Pakistan nation and government, the people have decided that we have to show zero tolerance, and there is no question of talking to them. Rather, they have to lay down their arms. And then if they want to join the mainstreams, so they have to show a proof from their action rather than their words or some other activities. So if they want to join the main forces, they are most welcome. If they are Pakistani, we have to establish whether they are really Pakistani. We have record in the Nadra, and if they come back, lay down their arm and want to join the mainstream, they are most welcome. So government also need to, for example, use media effectively, that those who wants to, for example, come and join and they think that their future lies in Pakistan, they are welcome. And government should then, for example, as a conceptual level, at the macro level, also need to ensure that such kind of anti-state organization can't attract and recruit these people. So you have to give them employment, you have to give them job opportunities, you have to, for example, have industries on those far-flung areas. You have to ensure uniform development as it happens in Europe. Because you go everywhere, you form uniform kind of development.
Of course.
So if you have a uniform kind of development, you engage them, the youth, you bring them the mainstream, and that's, I think, the way forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Major General Tariq Rasheed Saab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about terrorism in Pakistan, about the way forward, about what needs to be done, and of course about the resolve of our armed forces, without whom Pakistan would not be as strong as it is now. Because I still remember the DG ISPR's last press briefing, in which he highlighted the number of IBOs that are happening every day, and how there are so many operations that happen with that we don't even get to know about. And it is because of our defense forces, our armed forces, that we at least live in peace to a large extent, and we can live our lives normally.
Exactly. I would just add certain concluding remarks that, as DG ISPR very, I think, rightly said, that more than 100 small or medium or large scale operations to take place. And these incidents are happening in the Pakistan. You see, they are happening in the far-flung areas. They are happening some in the Waziristan, in the Mohmand area, in Bajaur area, somewhere border area of in front of Zob or Noshki area, for example. The majority, the major, I think more than 80% of the cities, towns in Pakistan are absolutely safe. So that is the way forward, the continuation of the intelligence-based operations, and then other elements of the state playing their role as armed forces are playing.
I think despite the fact that we do talk about it, we don't talk enough on our media as far as the role of our armed forces is concerned, and the way they've been working diligently 24/7. Even as we speak, there are intelligence-based operations that are going on in different parts of Pakistan. Even as we speak, the activities of such fitna are being thwarted by our armed forces. So I think credit needs to be given where it's due. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ejaz Sahab, to have joined us and to have talked to us. Let's come to our second story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns environmental pollution. Now, pollution, environment is something that we have been seeing in Islamabad, in Lahore and in Karachi in the last few years. Specifically, of course, we have seen in this season as well how smog has engulfed Lahore, how smog also engulfed Islamabad for a day, 2 days back, and how much of an issue that creates, not only as far as health is concerned, but also as far as the environment of our region is concerned. We need to do the needful. We need to create an environmental emergency, and that is what the Punjab government has recently done. It has also given 3 months off to the students who are having certain diseases that could get exacerbated because of this environmental pollution. But what more needs to be done? We know that here Rasheed Alam is also trying her level best to take care of the issue of environmental pollution, and in Lahore we've got the Punjab government that is doing that. What more exactly needs to be done so that we can tackle this environmental pollution once and for all, at least in the long term? We've been joined by Dr. Ejaz Ahmed. He's an environmentalist. He's right here with us in the studios. We'll also be joined by another guest online. Ahmed Omar, he's the founder of Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. Ahmed, thank you very much to have joined us. You join us online. Let's begin with you, Ejaz Sahab. Ejaz Sahab, smog has been declared a calamity in Punjab. The EPA has ordered all the special education schools in Lahore to send students with conditions, diseases susceptible to poor air on a 3-month leave starting from today. Now, this is official. Then, of course, we see the AQI level in Lahore that has gone to levels that we haven't seen in a quite a long time. In your point of view, is it just the burning of the crops, or are there other reasons behind what we call smog on environmental pollution in Punjab?
Well, I think there are many other reasons, and one of the major reason other than crop burning is vehicular emission, and especially when we talk about two-wheelers, three-wheelers, big buses, trucks. Most of them they do not have they don't use better fuel or the oil that they are using, and it is all year round. So it's not only limited to like these 2 months. It's all year round, and it is contributing very heavily in the air pollution. In addition to that, brick kilns, although there are efforts and there are many strategies which have been developed, zigzag technology has been introduced, but still I think there is much more to do. And then in addition to that, the burning of waste.
Okay.
Most of the waste these days are, like it is being used because waste is considered as a resource, and then mostly, like all the scavengers, they collect all the useful items. What is left is plastic bags, mostly single-use plastic bag or other plastic bags, and wet waste. So during the winter season, especially, people they collect that and then they sit around and burn it to tackle the winter season to some extent. And that is very, very lethal, very harmful in a sense, because the furon, the dioxins that are being released by these plastic burning, they are very harmful to the health of these people, and they sit right in front of the smoke that is coming out of it. So this is actually, like after, if you see in each street corner, people sit together and then they burn these waste. So these are some of the other factors which contribute quite heavily. Then another important factor is movement of smoke from the neighboring countries, especially, like a few days ago, I think day before, 2 or 3 days ago, there was a big, huge, chunk of smoke entered into Pakistan from India. And that is also, it is almost the same season of crop burning in India and as well as in Pakistan. So the movement of wind is in northwestern direction from India, which enters into Pakistan. So these are some of the factors which contribute quite heavily actually in smog. So in winter, temperature comes down. So
and that exacerbates the smog or the situation of smog. When it comes to vehicular pollution, and when you look at the different kinds of, vehicular pollution was something that was a huge issue in Pakistan a couple of years back, but it was tackled. There were fines that were initiated and put into place. Do you feel that such a mechanism needs to be more stringent now in areas such as Punjab?
Yeah, it has to be. There a few years ago, in government of Punjab actually started this VIX vehicle inspection certification system, where after every 6 months, all the public vehicles were supposed to get that certification. But I think it just, like with the change in the government, the previous government did not follow it. That is something I think which was quite, we need to do these stringent. We don't need to compromise, whether it is like a senior most bureaucrat or a politician or a common person. I think we need to take strict action, otherwise we are just going to talk to each other and ultimately nothing will happen. The same vehicles which are like throwing smoke out of their vehicles, they will be running and we will be talking only. So,
Dr. Ejaz, I'd just like to highlight some of the steps that have just now recently been taken under Section 3 of the Punjab National Calamities Prevention and Relief Act 1958. I'd like to understand how important this act is. Secondly, it talks about deputy commissioners who have been delegated powers of relief commissioners to take all the necessary measures, banning of things such as any kind of crop residue, solid waste, tires, rubber, plastic, vehicles emitting visible smoke, pollutants falling into inadmissible limits. All industries that are working without emission control systems have been banned. Also, there is a ban on all stone crushers operating without wet scrubbers, and on the sale and use of any type of substandard fuels, and encroachments and any parking that cause hindrance in the smooth flow of traffic have also been banned. Also, activities without proper safeguard have also been banned. Then action, it has been said by the DG of PDMA that action is going to be taken against negligent and irresponsible officers. How do you see these steps? Do you feel these steps should be just be short term during the smog season, or they should be implemented once and for all for for the long term?
I think it should be throughout the whole year, because this air pollution will remain, like part of the ecosystem that we are living, or Lahoris are living. And the crop season actually is only twice a year, and this season, during the paddy season, during the rice season, this burning phenomena actually happens. Otherwise, during the wheat season, it is being used as a food for animals, so that there is a consumption. But traffic is throughout the year.
Of course.
And then the vehicles, same vehicles, even they get older with the passage of time. So I think these are some of the wonderful actions that are that has been actually mentioned by you, the government has taken. But I think we need to be strict and then do the talk the walk, or walk the talk.
Walk the talk, walk the talk. And be strict in our measures, because if we implement strict measures, then I think people will think twice before continuing.
One more thing, I think unnecessarily people should not like create problems for a common man, like those who are inspectors or checking things. Maybe they should be warned initially for a month or so, and then if they still like have the same situation, then they should be punished. It should not be like that kind of punitive action which will create problems within the overall larger population.
All right, Ahmed, coming to you, Punjab government announces a green lockdown in designated hotspots across Lahore, imposing restrictions on barbecue joints, on motorcycle rickshaws, on marriage hall. The senior minister Mariam Aurangzeb announces this lockdown in the most polluted zones to combat rising smog levels. How pertinent, in your point of view, are green lockdowns such as those that have been announced by the Punjab government, and what needs to be done in order for this not to happen? Do you feel that such hotspots should be permanently closed, or should be there should be some mechanism to handle them in the long run?
This is a very complex question regarding the lockdowns, because it's not just any one thing that we're talking about. It's also, kind of what Ejaz Saab was talking about, that we have already all the right policies, the laws, the legal framework, the environmental standards available to have clean air and blue skies. But we are not seeing any improvement in air pollution. Regarding this lockdown, we believe, and by we I'm talking about the Pakistan Air Quality Experts Group. It's a group comprising about 15-20 experts, scientists, doctors, people from government, policymakers. And the lockdown that is announced will have zero measurable impact on air pollution levels. So the question is really, that is putting bans in place the right answer? I mean, we already have bans in principle on plastic bags, yet every time I go to buy milk or yogurt from the shop, I do end up buying it in a plastic bag, and any shopping you do is done in a plastic bag. So how effective are these government policies really in implementation? Coming to the ban itself of this green lockdown and those areas that they have announced, look, they're on one hand too small to have an impact, and on the other hand, how can you restrict the movement of certain vehicles literally overnight, where you say three-wheelers are not going to be allowed in the city, when people's businesses, their rosy roti karobar is dependent on that movement, and so forth. Similarly, like if you say that we should not have these punitive actions where we fine someone and say you have a month to solve that issue, that is also not a practical measure. And I will give you a practical measure of how that can be implemented. But first, how would you like it if somebody comes to you and says that four-wheel drive, that vehicle that you're driving that is consuming petrol or diesel or whatsoever, you have 1 month to replace it with an electric vehicle because, that is less polluting. So the answer is rather that these short-term bans and policies, for them to work, I mean, in principle, yes, we should phase out plastic bags and polluting vehicles of whatever sort, whether they're three-wheel rickshaws or whether they're the buses plying on our streets. But so an example out of California, which is a recent example, they found that gas stoves being used indoors for cooking are highly, highly polluting and also very detrimental to our health. So they came up with a policy where today, if you go to buy a stove for your house, if it's a new building or something needs to be replaced, electrical stoves are so heavily subsidized that you would not think twice about whether going electric is a decision or not. So that shift from gas to electric will be gradual. It will happen not measured in years, but rather measured in decades. And that is how bans are supposed to happen. The same is happening in other parts of the world where you do not overnight say that we are now on 30th October and as of 31st October, we have a lockdown. You announce policies in advance and those policies have to be well thought out. They have to have both depth and the breadth necessary for them to be effective. For example, one of the policies that was announced that schools will start 1 hour later. So do you think that will have any measurable impact on the child's health who is going to school by shifting it 1 hour ahead when the drop in the pollution level goes maybe from very unhealthy to still very unhealthy? Because again, these are not measurable drops, reductions. And I think the conversation rather needs to go like staying with schools, for example.
They have, Abid, they have given 3 months to those, 3 months off to those students who have certain conditions, medical conditions that could be exacerbated by the smog. So I think these are good decisions. And as far as, you talk about the change that needs to come, I think any measure has a short-term impact and a long-term impact, and measures need to be taken for short-term results and for long-term results as well. And understanding the situation, I think measures should be coupled that could work in the short term as well as in the long term. Ejaz, coming to you, the Punjab Chief Minister talks about climate diplomacy with India to tackle the issues of smog on both sides of the border. Can environmental diplomacy work to mitigate the suffering of the people as far as environmental pollution is concerned?
Yeah, I think there is this is a common issue, and the public is suffering. Nobody is gaining any profit or any benefit out of it. Technologies in India are a bit more advanced. So I think there is no issue if we talk with them and find out what kind of solution. They are also like going through the same process. They have the same issues. But over a period of time, and as like we just mentioned, that it is not a short-term solution. We need to find out some long-term solutions, and one of the solution would be definitely talk to the neighbors, or like China have gone through this. I mean, like Beijing was. Shanghai one was very polluted. Still it is, but then they have actually tackled the situation to some extent.
True.
So I think there is a need to sit together and discuss with those who are going through this process and find out solutions which are, as you mentioned, long term and short term as well as.
All right. Abid, final question to you. We had the World Environment Day in June this year. A lot of messages emanated on that day. One of those was, please recycle, save the environment, save the world. When you talk of recycling, so many, campaigns have happened across the world. But do people across the world, including in Pakistan, understand the message? Have they gotten across the message as it should? Do they implement that message?
Developing countries like Pakistan probably have recycling on a much more massive scale than anywhere else in the world. Any plastic that you're disposing of in your trash is generally ended up in a recycling facility where it is reprocessed and made again into a value-added product, as well as any metal, any wood, anything, any cardboard, any paper that we're disposing of is recycled, however, through the informal sector. In the formal sector, it is starting. As we know, there's a lot of recycling of PET bottles happening on a massive scale, and it's a hugely growing industry. Similarly, the paper industry, eventually that is all in the organized sector. So on the consumer level, yes, the awareness is not there. about the need for recycling or the culture for recycling, I think that is where we are lacking. Coming back to air pollution, there is a lot of interest, especially in Lahore and across Punjab, about how do we solve this. Yes, recycling more is part of the answer, but having the right effective policies, keeping in mind short-term measures especially, have to be discussed. And I think that is what is missing from the discourse, where the number one short-term measure and the cheapest measure possible is not being taken, and that is of improving the fuel quality. In Pakistan, we import about 50% of our fuel, and the cost of importing fuel that is meeting Euro 5 or Euro 6 standards is roughly going to add about 2 rupees per liter to the cost, which in the scheme of things of how fuel prices are fluctuating, that is a negligible increase. And similarly, there's a lot of talk about how many billions of dollars are required to upgrade our local refineries. But aren't those refineries already having billions of dollars of turnover in a year to be able to afford that, in spite of the development cess which was given to them for the purpose of upgrading refineries, and that was also in the billions of dollars. The biggest contributor to air pollution, we must emphasize, 40 to 60% is coming from the transportation sector. So rather than saying that I will find 1,000 vehicles every day, and maybe in 10 years I will have find enough vehicles that it might make a difference, we can literally shift this conversation overnight about improving the air. And let me add that our statistics are showing, compared to 2023, 2024 till October has seen a 25% increase in air pollution levels. I mean, that is a phenomenon.
Yes, it is phenomenal, and I feel, Ahmed, that we need to get together, the public and the private sector, in order to thwart out mechanisms so that short-term and long-term measures are taken in the right direction to prevent such incidents of smog, of environmental pollution from happening in cities such as Lahore or even Islamabad. Thank you very much, Abid Umar, founder Pakistan Air Quality Initiative, to have joined us. Thank you very much, our very dear guest, Dr. Ejaz Ahmed, to have joined us. Well, just stay for 5 more minutes till I end the show. Let's end with our 3 stories, ladies and gentlemen, very, very quickly. The first is on the sikhyatris who are in Pakistan. They were welcomed by Minister for Interior, Mohsinnaqvi, who also announced that sikhyatris willing to visit Pakistan to perform yatra will be given online visas within half an hour's time without any fees as well. He also talked about other measures that will be taken for the yatris, the facilitation in all the different levels as far as they are visiting the different areas in Pakistan is concerned. And he talked about religious tourism, also the importance of religious tourism as well. And of course, the online visa application is a good measure for the sikhyatris who want to come visit Pakistan for the different festivals. Then Diwali celebrations, ladies and gentlemen. In India, they might have happened a little early, but in Pakistan, they happen today and tomorrow as well. The Hindu community across the country celebrating Diwali with religious zeal and fervor today as well as tomorrow. Special sermons have been arranged in Hindu temples across the country. In Lahore, the main thing will be tomorrow. Today, it's in other parts of the country. We wish all our Hindu friends very, very happy Diwali. Finally, flash flooding that has happened in Saudi Arabia's Makkah. You can see the visuals in your parallel window. Heavy rainfall that happened on the 27th led to this severe flooding across Saudi Arabia, with Makkah being one of the most severely affected areas. Streets, pathways in the city, including the Grand Mosque, were heavily flooded, causing significant disruption for residents, pilgrims and visitors. So climate change is one of the reasons for such incidents to happen, and I wish that the world can come together to take measures and implement those measures that they have pledged for. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories, segments that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.